Steering wheel, somebody tell him to give it to me.
There's something loose between my legs.
I don't know. Let go!
I'm heavier than a freaking boat.
Nothing he's could say could make that any better.
No more radio for the rest of the race.
I'm going home.
Hello and welcome to DRS FC, an F1 podcast by soccer nerds. I am a soccer nerd and I have two of my soccer nerd friends with me as we get ready to preview the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. First off, Deepti, how's it going out there?
I'm good, Donald. I'm really excited to talk about this race. I can't tell you what my favorite race on the circuit is, but this one's definitely up there.
Yeah, for some reason, Brazil is always one that's a favorite of mine. Megan is also here. Megan, how you doing?
I'm in mourning. My future husband, Charles Leclerc, is no longer my future husband, Charles Leclerc. He is someone else's future husband. Congratulations, Charles, on getting engaged during the break.
Leo has a chance to do the right thing, apparently. So let's see if he can do that.
If you haven't seen, Leo is actually who ultimately asked her. His tag says "Dad wants to marry you," which is so cute. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I'm very excited to talk about Brazil, not the soccer team, Brazil, the GP.
Yes, the Brazil GP or Sao Paulo Grand Prix coming up this weekend. We are back. Of course, before we get started, if you have not looked at our feed lately over the last few days, we have put out our 2026 regulations chat. There's two episodes, one on the engines and one on kind of the modes, the X mode, if you will, that is going to be changing in 2026. A lot of changes. Me, Deepti, and Andre took about 2 hours to record that and split it into two episodes for you to enjoy. So check that out in your feed before you come back to this. Now, let's get to the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace, a.k.a. Interlagos in Sao Paulo. It is a track that is kind of long. I guess it's in the middle, 4.309 kilometers or 2.67 miles long. There will be 71 laps in this race, and the race record, a minute, 10.540 seconds. That set in 2018 by Valtteri Bottas. And I see that the track it has a bit of a backstory to it. Megan, I think you've added this, so go ahead and talk about what this track means and kind of the history behind it.
Yeah, so the track is located in Interlagos, which literally means between lakes. So it kind of informally has been known as Interlagos, but its formal name is Jose Carlos Pace, who went by Moco, which I think is a very fun nickname. And he was a Brazilian F1 driver from 1972 to 1975. He actually won the Brazilian Grand Prix, as it was known back then, in 1975 at Interlagos. And he actually died in a plane crash in 1977. So they named the track after him. And last year, they moved his body to the racetrack. So he was reinterred next to his bust statue that they have at the racetrack. So it's kind of informally known as Interlagos. You'll hear lots of people say it, but technically it is the Autodromo de Jose Carlos Pace, which is kind of just interesting. It's the only racetrack in F1 that has somebody buried at it. So that's a fun, morbid fact.
Would you guys want to be buried at your favorite stadium or track or whatever it is?
Real life story.
I said stadium,
real Megan story. For those of you who don't know my obnoxious college football self, I went to Auburn University and I was very lucky to go to Auburn University from 2010 to 2013, which meant that I was there for the national title and also the craziest football game of all time. Auburn won the Iron Bowl in 2013 with the infamous kick six, and we stormed the field. I swear to God, when we stormed the field, there was a guy next to us throwing ashes onto Jordan Hare Field, and that is definitely not allowed. And also, they didn't know we were going to rush the field, so, I don't know what their plan was, but we literally looked to our right, and some dude was just, throwing gray ash out of a paper bag. And I don't know that I want to be on the field with him, but I mean, I've considered it. The Emirates Stadium is where I would do it in soccer, but I like the Emirates, right? It's fantastic. I cry every time I'm there. I don't know that I want to be just chilling in Islington, my ghost.
You know what we call the Ash story on the field of Jordan Hare? We call that fate. We call that destiny.
Yeah. He willed us to a kick six.
To a kick
went
six.
109 yards.
probably the greatest moment in college football history, at least in my neutral opinion. We'll get back to the F1, but I want to talk about some of the tracks, likes and dislikes. And as you mentioned, Interlagos literally means between lakes. But on Friday and Saturday, it will be wet. We're expecting wet weather. It's also a sprint race. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But I feel like this racetrack, again, Deepti, you mentioned it's one of our favorite tracks, but I don't really know why. It's just, I think the feeling behind it. And for me, I think if we go back to the spring when we did the F1 review on the Senna doc, it kind of, the fact that Senna is one of my favorite drivers of all time, and the feelings of how much he wanted to win this and how many times he tried and tried and tried before he finally literally could not even lift the trophy. He had willed his body so much to try and win that race. I think the joy that brings to that, mind from that is why this track is always one of my favorites. And you have this, and then you have Coda, Singapore for me, and Miami because, reasons. But I think when I look at Brazil, it's definitely one of those tracks that there's always a lot of drama. Last year, if you remember, we had a double Alpine podium. We also had Lance Stroll beaching himself in the formation lap. So there's a lot of, things that kind of overcome when we go down to Interlagos. Deepti.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you basically said, took the words out of my mouth. I can't really explain it, but I think it's just the fact that there is so much history. You can never, ever predict what's going to happen here based, one, because of the weather, two, because things just happen. And it seems, and it's just the aura around it just has a really cool vibe to me. And I think also the fact that it is a track that a lot of overtaking can take place. There's it's a good mix between high speed and low speed turns. There's a couple long straights. You really get a full sense of what the sport can be like, which is I think also why I like it a lot. Plus anything in Brazil is cool, and so just having that just has it just has a really good vibe around it. Like we said, it's built on really hilly ground, so it does twist and turn. I'm going to use one of Andre's favorite words. It's very undulating. And this track is interesting because the course actually goes counterclockwise. A lot of them go clockwise, but this one's counterclockwise, which means there's going to be a lot more stress on the right side of the car because there's more right turns than there are left turns. And it has one of the longest pit lanes in F1. But going back to the right side having more, I guess, stress put on it will have to do with how the tires hold up as well. And so going into tire talk, this year, Pirelli has decided to go one step harder than what they did last year. So they have the C2, the C3, and the C4. C2, the hard tire, C3 is the medium, and C4 is the soft. And typically Interlagos, if it's a dry race and if they use the dry tires, it's a two-stop just because it's 71 laps. Because it's counterclockwise, it's going against the grain, and so it eats up the tires a lot. But like we saw last year, with a lot of rain and the downpour, usually you might not even use the dry tires. It could be intermediates. Maybe the emotional support wet tire will make an appearance. We don't know. But so we'll see. If it's dry, which it looks like it might be on Sunday, if they're going one step harder, and with Pirelli tires lasting a bit longer this year than they have been expected to, we might be able to see a one stop like we did in last week's in Mexico. What else about tires? I think, yeah, that's it. It's mostly, I think one thing to look for is just one, the right front tire will wear down a lot because of those sharp turns. But then two, because they're turning a lot on the right side, the left tire in the front will cool down a lot faster. And so there's a neat engineering challenge to both balance the heat and the temperature of the tire on the left side, but also not overdo the right side. So that's one little nerdy thing to look forward to as well.
And I think another thing about this track that makes it unique for the drivers is that it is one of the more intense tracks, just in that you have some fast corners, you have some tight corners, you have slow corners. And so drivers often report that like their necks are destroyed after this race because it's not a consistent braking pattern or it's not a consistent speed the whole time. So it just puts a lot of stress on their body, which is part of the reason, if you add in weather, why we get so many crashes, but also just like mental mistakes. We've seen a lot of crazy races over the years at this track, partially for that reason, partially because it used to be the final race of the season. And there have been a lot of championships that have come down to this race. And so while it's a bummer that that doesn't happen anymore, if you're ever looking for some fun old race footage, highly encourage, just look up Interlagos, because there are so many years where it came down to the final race and it is just wild to watch when it starts raining, when it stops raining, and how the drivers try to deal with that in addition to the like physical discomfort they're experiencing.
I think the one thing also is funny because when I think counterclockwise, I think that's how racing is supposed to go, because I was a sprinter in high school. So going around the track, you go around counterclockwise and you kind of know about the G-force that you put in yourself when you're always turning left. And if you think about NASCAR always goes counterclockwise at their tracks as well. So it makes it a little bit more familiar for some American fans. But I think this track, there are a couple things that I think are of note. The one is there's 2 DRS zones and both of them are very long. The longest one is it starts between turns 14 and 15, carries into turn 15, goes across the finish line on a long straight, and then ends basically just short of turn 1. And then immediately after turn 1, you have another DRS detection zone, or use the first one. And then that starts between 3 and 4, which is a pretty long straightaway. So both of those give you a lot of opportunity to bank up some speed. But I think, Deepti, you mentioned kind of the undulation that you kind of have from basically turn 6 to turn 12 is kind of just these drivers going to have to really figure out the lines. And if it is wet, which we probably may experience if the weather is a factor on Saturday during the sprint race. Between 6 and 11 is going to be kind of tight when you think about some of the racing lines and how wet or dry they may be.
Yeah, and I think especially in turn 1, where it's quite a wide turn and banking, there's a couple different lines the drivers can take, and so that's one of the biggest spots where overtaking can happen. So right at the start of the race, obviously like at the start is always chaotic, but every lap around the turn 1 and turn 4, I believe, are like 2 of the most common spots to overtake. So and those are, I think, kind of line up also with the end of the DRS zones is where you get a lot of action as well, because at the end of the second zone, that's like right before there's, I think, a long stretch until basically the start of the lap again. And so those are the points of, I think, the most action that we could see.
So I think it's time to get into a segment that comes up often on this show, which is, what does this track look like? And both of y'all have some interesting topics. So, Megan, I'm going to start with you. What does this track look like? We'll get to.
I was going to say, Donald, maybe we should start with you.
Me?
Yeah.
No. I want to know what y'all think. Yeah, I'm starting with you. Host privileges.
Well, so on one end of the spectrum, I thought, this track looks like brass knuckles. We squabbling out here.
Okay.
On the DRS FC AD, that's DRS FC After Dark end of the spectrum, I gotta be honest, guys, the first thing I thought when I looked at this was, this looks like a sex toy. And it looks like a real specific one. And I want you to know that Deepti, our intrepid UK correspondent, is technically After Dark right now. So
It's true.
We are in After Dark mode. It is okay. This is an X-rated episode, apparently, and I'm sorry. I promise my mind is not that dirty, but that is the first thing I thought of.
Due to daylight savings time ending, Eastern time is now After Dark as well. Megan is the only one on this pod that I can at least see through our Zoom here that has a little bit of daylight. But Deepti, look, you know what? You have your thoughts on this. Sex toy, brass knuckles, what are we going with?
Yeah, well, I had a couple other things. So first, like crab claw. That's what I saw first, just so the orientation that we have it on here. But very quickly after Crab Claw, I also, as I was scrolling through the doc, I was like, I wonder if anyone else thought it looked like that. And then I saw Megan's comment, and then I was like, yep, we're on the same page once again. I don't remember which track the other one was where we had we were on the same vibe, but yeah, if you can count on us for anything, it's to give you these funky track shapes. There's one more that I thought of. If you like flip it around, and I'm going to get a bit abstract, and if you look at the negative space, it kind of looks like an X-ray of like your knee, but just like the top of your knee. And I'm like,
we're ACL pilled over here as women's soccer fans.
I was like, that looks like it could be half of a torn ACL.
Band knees in women's soccer and in racetracks.
See, Deepti, you had me. You said crab claw, and I saw that. I was like, yes, crab claw. That's exactly what it looks like. And both of y'all, I hate now because I cannot get past the fact now, and I cannot overlook or at least unsee the fact that it may be a specific adult thing that people use after dark. And we all know what it is. We're not sponsored by them, so we're not going to mention the name. But damn it,
I was like, you know what?
Ruined me.
We are giving ideas to adult toy companies to have a line of F1 themed toys where they just make a toy that's in the shape of every track out there. Make it an advent calendar. There's like 24 tracks. We're in advent calendar season.
Deepti, you want an advent calendar of sex toys that look like F1 tracks? We're done with this segment. We're done with the segment.
After dark, baby.
We're done. Everyone out there, take that as you will. We are taking a break. We're going to come back and talk about other things to watch.
Calendars for everything. I've never gotten one. I've never had one.
Okay, we are back. We are not thinking about anything other than what to watch from this weekend. And as we mentioned, this is a sprint race. So let's first start with the Drivers' Championship standings because they are very tight at the top. Lando Norris, of course, is in first place with 357 points, just one above his teammate Oscar Piastri. Maybe we should say teammate in air quotes because they're not going to act like teammates probably for the next few weeks. Max Verstappen nipping at their heels with 321 points. You have George Russell with 248 points and Charles Leclerc, the newly engaged Charles Leclerc, with 210 points. I want to start the what to watch with basically just talking about the Drivers' Championship, and I say that someone is going to maybe throw a curveball here. And I think that curveball should be Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton, this is your time. This is your track. This is your favorite track. You are considered basically an honorary Brazilian. This is the time that and I've seen over the last few weeks, that Ferrari is just this close to pulling it all together and getting both of them onto the podium. Last week, really, Lewis should have been on the podium. I feel like he was robbed by that stupid penalty that was given to him that I think was undeserved. But this is his time. I think we're building up to a point now where Lewis Hamilton can put it all together. This might be delusion. We might be in the Delulu hour. But I think Lewis Hamilton can pull it together and get onto the podium here at Interlagos, one of his favorite tracks, the track one of the tracks he's done, been very successful at. And again, with the spirit of Senna, his favorite driver, with him, I think this would be the time. Deepti, what do you think of that?
I don't think we ever got off Delulu Island, Donald. I am with you.
Good.
Welcome to my island.
Yes, I won't spoil podium predictions, but yeah, I do think this is a time when Lewis can shine and hopefully just, get the one podium that he's been craving and like gunning after this season. In terms of my things to watch, I put a couple ones down. Number one, we have a Brazilian driver on the grid, and so there is this is a home race for one of them, Gabriel Bortoleto. Brazilians tend to do well at their home race historically. Obviously, there's like big names like Senna, and then we had the Jose Moco, who like obviously the track is named after. He's won this race before. And so I'm not saying Gabby's going to win, but I'm saying Gabby's going to do well, I hope, and I think. And it's just, like I said, the aura and the vibes around this track, I think it just like everything comes together, and I don't know what the right word is, but the vibes of it just kind of seep into these Brazilian drivers, and they do really well at their home track. Donald, you mentioned last year how crazy it was when famously the Alpine cars turned into boats and just swam or rode their way through to the 2 podiums. I think Alpine can surprise us again and like get in the points. Maybe not both of them. I know this is like Colapinto's probably his last chance, one of his last chances to see if he can get a spot next year. But I think Pierre, who likes this track, can do well, even though he's in that car. So I'm actually kind of hoping to see if Pierre can get some points as well. And then lastly, we haven't had a wildlife watch in a while. And at this track in particular, there are burrowing owls all along the track. They just
I remember
live
this,
around
yes.
there now. And if you don't know burrowing owls, they're really funny owls because they have really long legs, and they're also not night owls. Like they're awake during the day. But the long legs are funny because they have short bodies, long legs, and they like to sprint as well. And so that's kind of fitting because there's like a sprint race, and these are owls that sprint with their long legs, but they actually kind of waddle. But anyway, there's a wildlife watch in play for this weekend as well.
The burrowing
I love
owls
it.
are famously the ones on the internet that like kook their head to the side and look at you with like a scary face, and then they're really cute.
I
DRS
love it.
FC approved.
Yeah. We're always looking for the animals. We're always looking to protect the animals. So Lance Stroll is still in this race. So Lance, if you do anything to the burrowing owls, you will have to hear from us. You're going to hear from us anyway.
Sir, don't you mess with the owls.
Exactly.
We'll call PETA.
Megan, your things to watch.
Okay, this is a silly one, but I find what tracks are named and what their corners are named to be really interesting because I think it's like culturally representative of a lot of things. So I'm going to tell you some of the fun turn names that you will see this weekend. And I apologize to any of our Brazilian or Portuguese listeners because I'm going to horrifically pronounce these, and I'm sorry. We've got Curva do Sol, which is the curve of the sun. Then we have 2 corners that are little things, which I think is very cute for a corner. We have Laranjinha, I'm going to think, little orange.
Laranjinha.
Yes, thank you. One of us has gone to a World Cup in Brazil and one of us has not. And you can tell. We have Pinheirinho.
Pinheirinho.
Yep, there we go. And that's a little pine tree. And this last one I think I can do. Pico de Pato. I just said that in a Spanish accent, so probably that's horrific. And that's Duck's Bill, which I think is a fun one. So I think it's cute that they have like cute names because anytime something's like little something, I always think of it as being cute. So yeah, that'll just be fun. It's always cool to see the Brazilian fans, just as a side note, they're very passionate. They will be cheering for Gabby and for their countryman Lewis Hamilton, and that'll be very fun.
I'd like to thank you for helping me with my Duolingo this afternoon. So getting my
I'm just
getting my
getting you
Portuguese
ready.
practice in.
Yeah.
Brazil 2027 is right around the corner. So I'm preparing every single day for it. But no, I think part of it, right? We had the La Pelotada last weekend, or I guess 2 weeks ago, and all of these different corners this time around. It, like you said, it adds a little bit of a flair. I wish some of the corners at COTA was kind of named for something, right? That's kind of unique to either the United States or to Austin or something like that, because that is really the national race. Miami and Vegas are, they have names, but they're already named, right? They have the strip.
Oh my gosh.
That's already named. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like good corner names for COTA. We should do like an all right corner for Matthew McConaughey. Oh, that'd be so good.
I have one for Miami, but we've already done our DRS FC After Dark. So I'm not going to go into those.
Hey,
We've already had that segment. We'll do that later. But I think, I think those kind of things kind of make it unique, and obviously it caters to the crowd that's there, right? There's something about some of these turns that a lot of people just gravitate towards particular turns when they're even going to the race. So I like those little things. I like that they're named or named for something, and it makes it a little bit more exciting when you see those the cars make that turn and you hear Crofty kind of mentioning it by name. It just kind of adds a little bit of local flair to it. But that will do it for this part of the episode. We're doing it very quickly here. We're going to come back after the break. We got our podium predictions and we have our constructor scrap. We are back and it's time for our predictions. We, as always, will predict who we think is going to finish first, second, and third on our podium. Megan, I start with you because I feel like Delulu Island, I think we're all a part of it, but I'm interested to see what you have. But also, we have a sprint race, so give us who you think is going to win the sprint and then your podium for the Grand Prix.
Delulu Island is population 3 today, but we are always accepting new villagers into our Delulu land. I think for sprint, if I'm going maximum chaos, I do kind of want Max to win, only because I want the pressure to be continued to ramp up on Papaya because it just is the most entertaining outcome. I think if it can't be Max, then I want Oscar to win because I would like Lando under pressure. Famously, X-Dog hater over here. Delulu Island, however, is population me because I have picked Lewis, Charles, and Max in that order for the podium this weekend. I recognize that is a crazy choice, and I don't care. I don't care. Getting wifed up is going to give you extra powers, Charles, and Lewis. The Brazilian flag is going to be hanging from your neck after this race, and I can't wait to see it with all of them chanting.
I mean, if there's going to be some chaos and some weird things to happen, it is at Brazil. That's usually where it happens. Deepti, your sprint race prediction as well as your podium.
Sprint race, I've got Max winning. If it's going to be wet, like the weather predicts it's going to be, Max, I think, is the best wet weather driver. So I think he's going to be able to qualify the best and then also keep hold of the pole at sprint and win those points. But also, even if he doesn't get pole, he does really well in overtaking and wet. Anyway, last year he came and won from P17. So you can't count him out from anywhere on this track or on the grid. But so for the real race for the podium, I have Max winning. I have George coming in second. I think he's going to be one of those curveballs thrown in there for the Drivers' Championship. And then Lewis getting his first podium of the year. I want to see it. It has to be there.
Very interesting. Very quickly, Deepti, looking at what you have for your podium prediction and for your sprint with Max winning both. Does he overtake Lando and Oscar in the driver standings, or do you think he's still a little bit short?
No, I think because that would be 33 points, and then that would take him up to quick math 354, I believe, which would still be behind. And so I don't think he can overtake them in this week, but he can definitely get really close. I'm not saying that the other two will get 0 points, so they'll still have a few, but he'll definitely cut into their lead, I think.
So for me, I join all of you on Delulu Island. Lewis, I have finishing first. I have Max winning the sprint, so I think we're 3 for 3 there. I have Lewis winning the GP with Max coming in second and George coming in third. Like Deepti, I think George might be someone we're not going to forget about this weekend for once. Mm-hmm. Let's move to our constructor scrap. We, as always, predict our most and least points. You cannot choose McLaren, who has already clinched the Constructors' Championship, and you cannot choose Alpine for the least. I go back to Megan. Who do you have for most points and least points?
Listen, when you live on Delulu Island, you only have one choice, and that's Ferrari. As far as least points, I think it's Sauber. They have looked bad. I'm sorry, Gabby. I want you to do well, my friend, but they just haven't looked great, and I'm not very confident.
Deepti?
I have Mercedes as most points. I think, like I said, their car intrigues me and confuses me because when you think it's going to do poorly, it does really well, and vice versa. Or sometimes you just have no idea what's going to happen to it. If it's wet and cool, maybe they'll do great. sometimes if it's really warm and this track can get really warm, they can also do great. And so I have Mercedes getting most points, one because George podium, and then I think Kimi will also do pretty well. Least points, I have Aston Martin. It seems like Fernando last weekend or 2 weekends ago just completely checked out. And Lance might want to dance this time again. He beached himself last year. This year, let's see what he does if he even gets to racing. So Aston Martin, 0 points.
So for me, I have Ferrari with most points. Again, I think Lewis winning. I think Charles is right in the thick of things in the top 5. That gives him most points. For least points, I'm going Williams. Sorry, Deepti. I feel like this kind of trend has been going on way too long for them. So maybe this is their motivation to bust out of it. But I don't know if it's this week. I think last year, if I remember, Carlos started out well and then had a terrible race. And that kind of was one of the reasons why Ferrari came just short of losing or just short of winning the Constructors' Championship then. Real quick before we get out of here, because I think neither of or all three of us did not mention 2 names in our podium. We did not mention Oscar Piastri. We did not mention Lando Norris. Both of them separated by 1 point. Very quickly, at the end of this race, who is in first place? Will it be Lando or will it be Oscar? Deepti.
Lando.
Meghan?
Oscar.
I also think it's Lando.
Part of this is also just me trying not to jinx it and being like, if you've noticed in the last, when was the last time I put Oscar on a podium? I have no idea because I'm like, I am a little bit superstitious. And so I'm like, he needs to get back on it. But yeah, I think it'll take him another week maybe to get his mojo back. I don't know if this is the race where he does. I don't think it'll be Lando's best race either though. And so hence the no podium for either of them. But who knows? We don't know what's going to happen this race. Like I said, you can never predict what happens at Interlagos.
And with the sprint, it adds a number of points to the mix where, again, it's only, 1 to 8 points. But those really right now are the difference, considering that the driver's race is separated.
I'll ask you both another prediction question. How many safety cars are we going to see?
2.
How many safety cars?
Yes.
I'll go 2 as well. I think there'll be a couple. I don't think there'll be. Actually, you know what? If you're combining the sprint, I'll say 5.
You think there's going to be 3 in the sprint?
Yeah, that sprint's going to take forever. I don't know why I think that, but it's going to take forever.
All right, yeah. That's right around there. I was probably going to say 3. If we combine them, yeah, maybe 4. But yeah, I think safety car will play an issue as well. So qualifying will be definitely interesting.
Am I factoring in Lance Stroll deciding to beach himself on another part of the track? Yes, I am. Yes. I'm absolutely factoring that in.
No owl deaths, Lance. Do not kill the owls.
We will come after him. Don't make me have to fly to Vegas to check you. That will do it. We will wrap up with our times. Obviously, all times that I'm going to list right now are Eastern time for everything that is happening this weekend at Interlagos. Free practice 1 will take place on Friday, November 7th, 9:25 a.m. on ESPNU, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN Plus. We're also lamenting the end of having to say all these ESPN family of networks. If you're like me and you have YouTube TV, you got to figure out something else, baby. But it will be on ESPNU, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN Plus. Sprint qualifying will be on Friday, 1:25 p.m. on ESPN News, Deportes, and Plus. Sprint race Saturday morning, 8:55 a.m. Eastern time on ESPN News, Deportes, and Plus. Then right after that, at 12:55 p.m., we have our F1 Grand Prix qualifying. That also on ESPN News, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN Plus. And your Grand Prix Sunday, November 9th, 11:55 a.m. That coming on ABC, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN Plus with a replay at 8 p.m. That will do it. Hopefully you enjoy all the festivities this weekend surrounding the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. We will be back at some point after the race on Sunday or Monday or maybe even Tuesday to recap it all.
Don't forget about the cool down lap. We're going to try to do that again as well.
Yes, the cool down lap.
Reaction right after the race.
Will Ebony be doing that or will one of you guys be doing that?
We'll
TBD.
find out.
You're going to have to tune in and find out. So until the cooldown lap, for Deepti, for Megan, I'm Donald. Vroom, vroom.
Vroom, vroom, vroom.